my name's George. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Bitspark. We're based in Hong Kong, and essentially we transfer money around the world using cryptocurrencies, and we were the first doing it 4 years ago, cash in, cash out. And today I want to talk a little bit about stablecoins. Stablecoins are super exciting. You may have heard about them, and they're certainly growing. And we've got two different sort of types of stablecoins. So through this presentation, I want to leave a little bit of time for Q&A as well at the end there, because I think there's some really good questions coming through, which are really exciting. But let's get stuck into stablecoins. What is a stablecoin? Well, which is worth more? At the moment in Venezuela, the toilet paper is worth more than the currency. So essentially, this is a real sort of problem to solve, because moving toilet paper around and being able to buy and sell goods in it is very difficult, right? It's not fungible. It's not a currency. It's not money. So you really need these notes which have a value, and also states accept taxes in them. And sort of, that's what we sort of assume is what a currency is something of which I can exchange with somebody somewhere else, and it's not going to disappear, or if it's a toilet paper, it's not going to break up and in my hand or something like that. That's what we call fungibility. That's one of the core concepts. But essentially in stablecoins, we want to create fungibility. But we also want to tie it to a state national currency. And there's lots of reasons why people might want to do this, and people don't want to do this as well, perhaps, in the Bitcoin community. But there's two different types of stablecoins. One is trusted, and one is trustless. And essentially, you might be familiar with a trusted stablecoin. It's the biggest one that's been around for quite a long time. It's called Tether. Tether is a company which, based in Puerto Rico somewhere, they made a coin whereby they said, if you deposit $1 into our bank account, we'll give you 1 Tether. Yeah? So you trust them as a company to have a bank account, exist, and give you 1 Tether. And if you want to redeem your Tether with them, they will give you $1, right? Now, we call that trusted because we have to trust them as a company. And maybe Tether doesn't exist as a company. Maybe everybody disappears. Maybe their bank account gets shut down. Maybe whatever happens, and then that currency goes to zero. Essentially, that trusted coin is no longer something of which I can redeem. So this is what we call a counterparty risk. Yeah. So I risk with that trust dealing with that company, because maybe they could exist, maybe they could have the money, or maybe they could not. And a lot of the concepts that we're talking about in stablecoins, a lot of things that people are coming up with, is really the trusted one, because it's pretty easy, right? Like I could have $1 and you deposit it to me, and then I give you a coin and I tell you it's worth $1. Yeah, and then basically, as long as you trust me, it's worth $1, and as long as you can redeem your money, it's worth $1. Because if it wasn't worth $1, there'd be an opportunity there for somebody to make some money. So essentially, trust is a very important thing. And it also has allowed Tether to grow quite quickly as well. They've been able to increase the amount of Tether in supply, and it's now one of the core currencies which is traded against Bitcoin and a bunch of other different cryptos. And it makes it easy to get US dollars into and out of exchanges. Because if you're an exchange, right, at the moment you need a bank account, or many exchanges these days don't operate with a bank account, which I think is the way to go. But if you have a bank account as an exchange, that's a real liability, right? The banks don't like you. They probably hate you. They're probably going to shut you down pretty soon. And you have to deal with customers, putting in money. Maybe they don't put the right numbers. Maybe the money gets returned. You have to have a massive customer support service. So, Bitfinex and a couple of other companies last year had 100,000 requests a day coming into their customer support. How are you going to, really scale that customer support? And really, that's because of the deposits and withdrawals into a bank account. So if you can digitize a US dollar and be able to accept it, now you don't need a bank. But you also have the benefit of an exchange as being able to trade something against the US dollar. Because when people think of the Bitcoin price, really a lot of the cases they think of the US dollar price. So being able to have that sort of base or anchor is very interesting. But we also have trustless cryptocurrencies, and the oldest running of such is called BitUSD. It runs on BitShares, but essentially it's collateralized. Now what that means is, in the case of Tether, you trust that I have the money that I say I do, right? If I disappear, it's worth nothing. However, if you have to put up some money to back it in a smart contract, and nobody else has any control of that, you can actually audit on the blockchain and see that for every 1 BitUSD in existence, there is at least 2 BitUSDs worth of cryptocurrency backing it. And that's how this works. In the case of BitUSD, it's how MakerDAO works as well. And I think there's a couple of other sort of concepts popping up here and there that also work on this collateralization concept. Because if you can imagine, if you could put, say, Bitcoin or in the case of this one, BitShares. BitShares is a token, it has a price, right, and it's trading. If you can put that in a smart contract that backs the value of your US dollar coin, or any currency coin, it could be hryvnia, then you don't have to trust me that I'm good for the money. There's no bank account, there's no company, and there's no way that I can take the money from you even if I wanted to. So I think trustless is really the way that we've got to go. And really that's where the exciting innovations is going, is build. And then we lost the power. Okay, all right, well the mic is working. So I think trustless stablecoins are super exciting and super interesting. So really we've got to be able to build that for every different currency in the world. Now, one of the super exciting things is being able to actually do that and create a trustless stablecoin for every single currency in the world. So as soon as the presentation's back up, I'm going to show you a little bit about that. But I think we can talk a little bit about it in that if we have any currency in the world able to be created digitally without having to trust anyone, think of it right now. If I want Tajik Samoni, which is one of the, we're working with the UN in Tajikistan, like it's not a global currency, right? There's 180 currencies in the world. Now, if you want to call up your bank and you want all 180 currencies, not possible. They're not going to give you it, yeah? So how are you going to get currencies that you might want to have access to? Maybe small countries, small emerging market currencies and so on. It's going to be very hard. Whereas if you have a stable coin, which is pegged to the value of that national currency, now you can trade into and out of any currency you want in the world for free, pretty much, without having to trust anyone, without having any other bank or so on. So, really being able to do that, that is the super exciting thing, because, now you don't have this element of trust with a bank. But it also brings back some more. Here we go. It's also, I think, something that can really drive adoption as well, because, okay, I'll give you an example, right? If you want to do money transfers to a different country, usually what you could do is you could say, okay, I'm going to buy Bitcoin in Ukraine at some rate, and then I'm going to sell it in, let's say where I'm from, Hong Kong. Yeah, I'm going to sell the Bitcoin over there. I'm going to deal with an exchange, a company which will take my fiat national currency here. Then I'm going to deal with some exchange in some other country which is going to take my Bitcoin and give me fiat currency over there. Yeah, I trust two companies in that situation. And if I want to send money to Hong Kong, there needs to be some exchange over there that can actually do it. What if I want to send to Myanmar? Yeah, or what if I want to send to Sri Lanka, some other country or currency in the world? If there's no Bitcoin company there, can't be done. Literally impossible. So if we can have a stable coin for the Sri Lankan rupee, right? Now I can actually trade into and out of the rupee very easily without having to trust anyone, without a company needing to exist, without a local bank account needing to exist. So that is really exciting, because it means that I can actually interact everywhere in the world without having to get anyone's permission or having to trust anybody else if I want to do that interaction. So a little bit about how the collateralization works. It's a complicated thing to get to the core essence of it, but essentially I put up some crypto in a smart contract. That is my collateral. Now I get to create some coin like a BitUSD based on how much collateral I have. So obviously I need the collateral to back the value of the coin. Yeah, if I create 1 BitUSD, I need 1 BitUSD's worth of collateral, at least, in order to back it. So I always have 100% reserves. Okay, go call up the bank, HSBC, and ask them what their reserves is. They don't, literally, they don't even have to have reserves these days, so they don't publish it anyway. Whereas you can actually see reserves on a smart contract on a blockchain. So I think, another core thing is you can do this without the permission of the state as well, and that's what's already been happening for about 4 or 5 years if you create a trusted or a trustless stablecoin. If you create a trusted stablecoin, then people can go, well, that company's issuing the stablecoin. Those guys are in my jurisdiction. I'm going to go get them. Yeah, that's what states will do, because maybe they don't want you creating a trusted stablecoin. But if it's trustless, well, nobody can stop you. So you could create a Bit IDR, a Bit Thailand Baht, or even a bit hryvnia if you really want to. That's all possible right now. You can literally go and spin up a smart contract to go and do this right now. So essentially, it's being able to create a currency without the counterparty risk of the banking system. And that's super exciting as well, because when I went to Tajik, they said 2 banks had collapsed in the last 2 years and everybody lost their money. And people went to the ATMs and then there was just no money anymore. So everybody just lost their money. Yeah, gone, finish. The currency still exists, but because people had the counterparty risk of the bank, well, now they just can't use it. And people like have bags of cash and they put it in taxis in order to get money around, like they say, hey, can you take this bag of cash to my friend in another village? They call him up and then he takes it. So they trust the guy with the bag of cash in the taxi more than they do the bank, right? And that's pretty critical if you really want to build a modern banking infrastructure. So, I think that if you can create a trustless stablecoin for every single country and every single currency in the world, that is super exciting. So ultimately, stablecoins exist without government backing or companies or companies as well, which is very important. So it's also 10 times cheaper. I got it in here to transact. I'll give you an example. If I'm buying cryptocurrency in Hong Kong, we do OTC. So we might have, say, 100,000 Hong Kong dollars, and I want to get Bitcoin, and I want to send it somewhere else for another currency, right? So I might go and do a deal for Hong Kong dollar to Bitcoin. Yeah, I'll be charged some spread, and then I'll be charged some spread for the Bitcoin to Indonesian rupiah. So it can be quite expensive. In the case of Hong Kong, it's about 2% usually in a spread for an OTC trade of large value, and then that goes down. But when you transact a stablecoin, I can do it for about 0.2% or 0.1% total spread. And the reason for that is that when I transact HKD to Bitcoin, I'm taking some exchange risk there, yeah? So's the OTC trader. He's committing to me a Bitcoin rate. I'm giving him some Hong Kong dollars. Maybe the money arrives in his bank account in the same day. Maybe it doesn't, yeah? So he's got to build in some margin there for him to make some money. But if I give him $100,000 and he gives me 100,000 Tether, well, there's not really much risk at all, yeah? It's much less than having having to deal with the exchange rate volatility. Now, that's not to say that stablecoins are the future and fiat is great. Fiat's going to exist, right? Government's going to want to get paid in the money of which they have, because that's what they do. They want you to pay them in their money. So that's not going to go away. But being able to convert that into something which is easily transactable anywhere in the world without anyone's permission, now that is super exciting. So that's really what I wanted to get across in the core concept of stablecoins today. If there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer in the audience. Thank you.